All right, guys, we got a 2007 Jeep Wrangler that has got an audible tick occasionally. It's kind of random. It kind of sounds like a lifter, but it also sounds like an ignition wire. I've already checked the ignition system. In fact, it's got relatively new plug wires, plugs already installed. That was I don't know, probably about a year ago. And the tick is still there. Like I say, it kind of sounds like it's coming from the valve train. This Jeep's got it's just under 300,000 miles on it. So the valve covers are leaking anyway. So I thought it'd be a good idea to pull these valve covers off and take a look at the valve train and see if there's any slop in it. And if nothing else, we'll at least get the valve covers. Got new gaskets so that the valve covers will be sealed up. Looks relatively straightforward. Now on the driver's side, this coil pack assembly's got to come off, but even though it looks kind of tight back here in the back, I think the valve covers, I think there's 8 bolts total, and then the valve cover should shimmy out of there, hopefully. But that's the plan. Let me show you the valve train and what my plan is. So finding all this stuff new proved to be a challenge. I mean, yeah, I probably could have went to the dealership, but I'm not willing to spend $1,000 on new valve train because I'm not even sure if that's going to be the problem. But there's an outfit on eBay, an engine rebuilding service, that they tear down engines and they mic everything and verify that everything's good, and then they sell used parts. This was literally $60 for both these. This is both sides, left and right, and hopefully if there's any slop in the assembly that's on the Jeep, then we'll be able to replace it with these and take care of it. Before you say anything, I know that it's not a good idea to replace valve train components and stuff like that because they're wear mated together, and I don't like doing that either. But this Jeep's got 300,000 miles. I'm not rebuilding the engine, at least not at this point. I just want to try to get rid of that tick. Hopefully, you know, it lasts for a while. I did check the wear right here. You cannot feel on any of these rocker arms. You cannot feel any wear. It looks like the plating might be worn through, if that's even any kind of like a CAD plating or something for rust prevention. But you can see there's a shiny spot where it's been, you know, where it's been rocking, but you can't feel it. There's you know, I mean, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't be able to feel it with your fingernail. And I look down here in these little cups on every one of these. Everything looks perfect to me on this. So the plan is take the rockers off, the rocker shaft off, take a look at what we've got on the Jeep. I also want to pull the push rods out, measure them. The measurement for them is supposed to be 5 inches, 330 thousandths. That way that'll tell me if the push rods are consistent with one another as far as whatever measurement we get on them. And then we're going to put these rocker shafts on. So let's get over here on the Jeep and get started on this. Alright guys, so first thing I'm going to do is just kind of pop anything off. Now that broke. These don't make a 300,000 mile engine. Alright, got that off. Got the wire up. Oh, let's get this hose out of our way. Looks like they're 8mm. Some of these are studs, like this one, and then some are just bolts. Looks like an 8mm is what they all are. Got a ground strap down here on this one. Just using a swivel to get these back ones. Let me grab a flashlight. All right, about 5 minutes into it, guys, and valve cover's loose. I don't know if these are captured or not. Feels like they are. Alrighty. Alright, I mean, everything looks good at this point. Actually, it's really clean in there for having almost 300. It's got like 298,000 miles on it. So I'm going to pull these off, and what it tells you to do is loosen these bolts off one turn at a time, up and down, to slowly, you know, because some of these are under spring tension right now. So that's what we're going to do. Looks like 10 millimeter, and then we'll just slowly loosen them off. I might take that back one out because it's going to be tough to get on it each and every time, but nonetheless. That may not be hard to get on. So I'm just going to go about a turn on each one. You can feel the ones that are under tension. Then we'll take it over and compare it to the other one that I bought. I think all the tension's off. Yeah. Feels like all the tension's off. So I'm going to go ahead and zip these on out of here. These are captured too, by the way. They don't come all the way out. When I measure the push rods, I'm going to measure them one at a time and keep them in their respective holes. think this thing's ready to pop out of there. Oh, and if you're wondering why I didn't start it and let you hear it, this thing's been sitting overnight, so I didn't want to spray oil. I didn't know how much oil would be all sprayed up underneath the valve cover, and plus I didn't want it warm. Okay, so let's go over here and take a look at this. All right, and I think both sides of these are identical. The drivers and the passengers, they look exactly the same to me whenever I'm comparing the two that I bought. Just in case you guys are wondering if there's a right and a left, both of these are the new ones that I bought. Not new, but a lot lower mileage engine, and they both look identical. So this one here is off the passenger side, and as far as checking for any kind of slop, this one seems like it might have slightly less lateral movement. Flip it over here. Flip this one over. Now this one I can definitely see some more abnormal wear. In fact, yeah, I can see a lot more wear on this one than what I'm seeing on this one. And I'll try to get a little closer up so that you can see what I'm talking about. So as far as all the lateral movement and any kind of radial play, all that felt good on this one. But I can actually see, and you kind of have to get, I'm going to have to get the reflection just right. And hopefully that's going to be coming through, but you can see right here, there is definitely wear, and I see it on this one. I see it on this one, and I hope that I'm getting the light reflection right for you guys. I see it on every one of them. I don't see it on any of these. I don't see that same wear on these. So the next thing I want to do is pull each push rod out, measure them, see how close to that 5.33 measurement we are. Hopefully they're all going to measure good, and then we're going to go back in with this one. The only other thing you might need to know that you want to at least make sure of is, so your oil holes are right here in the top of these rockers, and there's actually a hole underneath these, and they want the hole, if you take yours apart, they want that hole. In fact, let me just show you right here. You see the hole right there, number 8. Then you see the picture that they're showing, and it says number 8, rocker arm lubrication feed hole, position upward and toward valve spring. So there's your valve spring. You want your hole going toward the valve spring. So make sure you do that if you take yours apart. If you don't take it apart, you should be good. I've already checked these just because I don't know if they took these apart or not. And the way I checked them was I just took a small drill bit, stuck it in the hole, and I rotated the shaft until it fell down into the feed hole. And I verified that the hole is on the side that goes up against the valve spring, or the valve keeper right here. So we should be good. I checked both these, so they're good. And like I said, I hate to put parts that have some wear that's been in an engine. I hate to swap them around because they have what they call wear mating surfaces, and it accelerates the wear. So like I say, this Jeep's got 300,000 miles. I don't know how much longer, you know, this engine's going to go before we have major problems. But I want to try to get rid of that ticking noise. So that's the whole goal here. And these look like they're in a lot better shape than these. Anyway, let's go over here. I'm going to get you set up, and then we're going to get some calipers. We're going to measure these push rods. And like I say, what you do want to do, I'm going to pull one of these out. You want to make sure you go back in the same direction. So you don't want to put this end up top now, because this has been wear mated to the lifter, and you don't want to put this end down there and accelerate any kind of wear. So I've just got some digital calipers here. These are 6-inch calipers, so it should be good. I say we should be. This is measuring 5.306 actually. 308. I'm just going to measure all these and see what the difference is between them all. This one's 304. This one's 306. This one's 306. 307. Make sure everything looks good. All right, so everything looks good. I'm going to go with these push rods. You know, you've got a hole right in the end of them. So, you know, that's basically creating a flat area on both ends. And I don't know if their measurement, if they're 5.33, is taking into account the conical shape of the round end. And then when you put the hole, you've just shaved off some of it effectively whenever you're measuring just from end to end with calipers. They're all measuring within a couple thousandths of one another. So I'm fine with that. So we're going to go with them and see what happens. I'm going to clean this surface up around this edge, and then I'm going to grab the rocker shaft and get it bolted on, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, to get your old seals off your bolts, I just plucked my bolts out of the valve cover. They'll just pop right out of there. Your new gasket kit should come with some new rubber bolt seals. The old one will be a little bit brittle. Easiest way I found to get them off there is get you a pair of nice flush cut dikes, give it a little snip, and then just rip them right off. Your new ones are going to be a lot more pliable, so they'll slide on real easy. You've got a little shoulder right here that goes down toward the threaded portion. So easy way to get them off, just dike them, rip them. Put your new one on. Now, I snapped a picture of my valve cover. Some of these are studs, some of them are bolts, and I snapped a picture that way I know where they all go. Anyway, let me get this valve cover finished cleaning up. It's soaking right now with some degreaser, and then we're going to press on with this. Okay, so when you're putting your bolts in your valve cover, you got these shouldered spacers after you put your new rubber seal on. If you look down here in the hole of the seal, you'll see a little shoulder on it also. These spacers don't go all the way through right here. They go in and then put a little bit of pressure on the seal and just kind of twist this spacer, and that spacer will go right past that little shoulder in the seal, and it'll all be held together just like that. And like I said, I took a picture of where my bolts went. Basically all four of the lower ones are studs, then that upper aft corner is a stud, and then the three top ones were bolts. All right, guys, got the new setup here. I do have a little assembly lube on the rockers. This is going to be the toughest part, is just getting everything all lined up here. Come on now. I'm going to start a couple of the bolts, and then I'll fish the rockers or the push rods up as I go down with it. All right, so all the bolts are started. But I need to start snugging them up and position the push rods. So to do that, I'm gonna get me a shorter extension. Okay, that first push rod is in.
Think it's a okay time to know?
Yeah.
Or is it looking
Yeah. All right, guys. So the easiest way to get all these rockers positioned with the push rods in their cup is, you can see that this, I've got all the bolts started and loosely tightened. And if you push down with the back of the rocker on the push rod going into the lifter, you can keep all the push rods in their cups. And of course you can see, you know, you've got that gap, but with that assembly lube, it's sticking, you know, it's holding that rocker toward the push rod. Now at this point I'm going to start snugging up all the bolts, and you start in the center and you work your way out is what the book says. So I've got that center one snugged up. I'm going to go with this one. And I've got the clutch turned down enough to where it's not going to crank down on them. Not going to smoke them down the way my buddy puts it. Yeah, and at this point, you want to make sure that all the push rods are in their appropriate spots. I'm going to increase the clutch on my driver. We'll go ahead and get them close to where they need to be. Then we'll torque them. Let me get my torque wrench. All right, guys, so the book says 200 inch-pounds. Book also says to let it sit for about 20 minutes before you start it. That will be plenty of time for me to get the valve cover on and get over to the next one. And by the time you get the valve covers and stuff on, that's probably going to be about the appropriate amount of time. They want the lifters to be bled completely down, just to be on the safe side. So at this point, just double check everything. Make sure your push rods are looking good. Should be centered up with the hole that they go down into. If they're off to the side, then you need to double check everything. Everything looks good. I got the mating surface cleaned up pretty good. The gasket is installed. My bolts are in. Eight millimeters. All right, guys, so the torque on the valve cover bolts is 105 inch-pounds. And I like to torque the bottom first. I'm going to go all across the bottom. I've already crisscrossed the pattern using the good old DEWALT, and that evenly snugged it up. To me, when you torque it, it's already close to where it needs to be. I shouldn't have to turn it much. So the crisscross pattern at this point, to me, isn't that important. To me, the crisscross pattern is more important when you're snugging the entire thing up. And the reason I like to do the bottom first is through experience, I've noticed that if you tighten up the bottom bolts first and then the top, the way it kind of torques that seal and puts pressure on it, seals the bottom more than the top. And the bottom is typically where most of your oil leaks occur from because of gravity. You know, that's the direction that gravity has drawn the oil. And I've never had a problem doing it that way. I'm going to go ahead and get that back corner one because that's a stud, so I need my long extension. Then I'm going to put my short one on, and we'll go ahead and finish the top off. I need my light for this. Let's see, what all we have to take off? Not much of that. Alright guys, so just re-secure your plug wires if you arrange them. If you had to arrange them out of the way, reclip your heater hoses back on your stud and this wire bundle right here. I just dropped the little clip that secures it down there. I'm going to get some mechanical fingers to dig it out of there. So I'll get this put back on. And this side will be done. And the other side, I'll show taking the coil and whatever needs to be taken off over there. But it's going to be the same thing as this side. So unless there's a surprise whenever I do the other side, I'm not going to film it just to keep the video short. But you're going to do the same exact thing as you did over here. You're just going to remove your coil, and I think you got to remove the alternator bracket. Maybe I'll have to take a look over there. But anyway, we're done over here. This was a 2007 Jeep Wrangler. This is a 3.8 liter engine. Valve cover removal so that we could replace the rocker shaft and rockers. to try to get rid of a ticking noise that it's had for quite a while. Okay guys, so on this side I'm just going to get you far enough to where it's ready to pull the bolts out of the valve cover, because you don't want to wash the whole thing over again. But we're going to take this bracket off, and we've got a couple 13 millimeters. Alternator's probably going to move because I have not taken the belt off. Just lost a washer I'm going to have to fish out from underneath the Jeep. So lay that to the side. Now, I have previously in the past already marked these plug wires 5, 1, and 3. So if yours isn't marked yet, go ahead and mark them, because you're going to want to take these off. And I'm just going to fish these kind of up and out of my way. There's a connector right here. There's a little safety tab. I'll show you once I get the connector off. Little locking tab right here. Hopefully that's coming through. You're going to pull it up, push the little catch right here, and then that connector is off. And again, I'm going to fish these up. That way they're out of my way. And there's two 10 millimeters down here that you got to get off there. It's where it's attached to the valve cover, and you could probably leave the coil pack attached to its bracket, but we're not going to do that. It'll probably be just a little bit easier to maneuver this coil pack whenever it's not attached to its bracket anyway. There's just 2 bolts holding the coil pack on. And I'm just going to set that right down there and leave it just like that. And I don't know if you can see, there's actually another bolt right here that I didn't see earlier. So it probably is a good idea to get that wire out of the way. Pick that socket up, 13 here, and then 2 13s down below. Okay, I'm not sure what you guys have seen so far. I just noticed the camera was not on. So this bracket was bolted on right here. This alternator bracket was bolted on right here. So I took this bracket off, pivoted it out of the way, took the bolts out for this bracket. For the coil pack, I've got the coil pack just laying down here out of my way. So at this point, all that's left is taking the valve cover bolts out and pulling the valve cover off, and then going ahead and taking the rocker arm shaft off and the rockers and stuff. So it's just like the other side. So I'm pretty much going to stop the video here until I get this all put back together on this side. If there's anything that's different about this side, which it doesn't look like there's going to be, I'll go ahead and put that in the video. If not, the next section to this video will be starting it up and seeing how it runs. All right, guys, got the valve cover out. Do not have to remove the alternator. I did kind of have to push these harnesses up and kind of finagle with the coil sitting here. Might be worth it to go ahead and mark these plug wires and just disconnect those. That way you can get the coil completely out of your way and not have to worry about messing around with it. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and zip the rocker shaft off and get that other one swapped over and press on. All right, guys, got everything put back together and about to start it up. And this entire job only cost me the gasket set was like $15, and then the rocker arm shafts with the rockers and everything, both sides, was is either $60 or $65. So I was willing to take a chance. Like I said, it needed valve cover gaskets anyway, so the valve covers were coming off, and that ticking sounds like a lifter or a rocker that could have been worn. So I'm hoping for the best on that. If not, I'll just live with it. Like I say, this is a 300,000 mile motor, so I'm not too concerned with it. But everything's back together. It's started up, and let's see how it sounds. It's sounding pretty good. Of course, you heard the clatter when it first started up. It's because those rocker shafts were empty of oil. And you know, the shaft itself has oil pumped into it and then out each rocker. So on initial startup, you'll probably hear a little bit of clatter, but then after that, you should be good. But it's sounding good, running good. And like I say, I don't necessarily recommend putting used parts that have been wear-mated together, you know, on your vehicle. But like I said earlier, this is a 300,000 mile motor. I'm not too concerned with it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, no big deal. I'll pull this engine out and rebuild the entire thing if I ever decide to do that, and put all new parts in it. But at this point, I was just wanting to get that ticking gone and get new valve cover gaskets. It sounds like the ticking is gone, and looks like it's all running pretty good. So we're going to go with it and see how it does. You guys take care. 2007 Jeep Wrangler, valve cover gaskets, and rocker arm shafts. All right, guys, so I'm going to put the link to these in the description. They're from an engine rebuilder that inspects them, makes sure they're in good shape, and then they sell them. And I think I paid for both these for the set was either $60 or $65 shipped to my house. I don't think it gets much cheaper than that for an entire assembly of both sides. Anyway, the link will be in the description. And with that said, you guys have a good day, and we'll see you.